During today's video, we will make quick overview of SmartConsole. Also, we will try some basic troubleshooting commands to check routing, to check interfaces, and overall checkpoint performance. So the first step for us today is to start SmartConsole. The plan for today's video is to go through SmartConsole different windows and to try some troubleshooting commands on our firewalls. When we start SmartConsole, the first we see is overall status of our firewalls and smart management server. When we have all marks green, means everything is good. If we have something yellow, means we have a warning. If we have a red cross, means that we have a problem with a gateway or it is a problem with communication between smart management server and the gateway. The second tab on the left is security policies. Default policy is standard policy. Usually after you create the first policy, it is only a cleanup rule. Then you can add rules above or below, and you can create different type of rules with different objects in source, destination, services, action, log, and also you can select where would you like to install your policy. Another type of the policy is net policy. By default, gateway creates a number of net rules. That's the rules to apply netting to this object, which is default address pool for remote access VPN in so-called office mode. We will not touch anything here right now, but in future we definitely will create some manual rules and we will see how we can add automatic NAT rules. The next is a threat prevention policy. It is created by default right now. That's only one profile which is optimized. And this is a balanced profile. Most of the things are in detect mode, something is in prevent mode. And as you see, it has all the voids enabled here, despite of the fact that on the gateways itself, we do not have all the voids active. We don't have anti-bot, antivirus, threat emulation, anything. But this profile, if the void is enabled, will apply some action to each of these features. We also have exceptions. There is a global exception, and it's now empty. No exceptions. We have HTTPS inspection policy, which tells that any source going to an internet object will be inspected and not logged. This internet object is automatically updated based on our topology information in our gateway. Basically, everything which is behind our gateway, which is internal network, is accepted from the internet. Everything else is the internet. We have different inspection settings for different actions. We will not pay too much attention to this right now. The other tab is about logs, and here we can have the logs for our network objects. Right now we have only one, that's admin laptop, and admin laptop try to use NB-name protocol with a broadcast destination. Of course, it is dropped by firewall because we did not allow it specifically. So everything which is not allowed is now dropped. The other window is our manage and settings window. Here we can configure our administrators. We can configure who can connect to the smart management. We have some additional settings for passwords. We have some configuration for different blades. We can see management sessions for the SMS. We see that right now only admin is connected. We have no other users. If we would have any other users, we can right click, disconnect, or see changes which is done by every administrator. So we can have a log of the sessions. We see that during our first session we had 20 changes. At the same window we can also see audit logs, which is now empty. General preferences, how we're syncing with user center. Smart task is empty, package repository also empty, and we have some policy settings. The other very important thing is to know where your menu, and in the menu you can access general properties, and also you can also install policy, verify access control policy, install database. You can urgently uninstall threat prevention policy in case if threat prevention start denying some traffic which should be allowed and you don't want an impact to any of applications. You can uninstall the threat prevention policy. You can configure what you view on the SmartConsole window and so on. The most interesting part, of course, is general properties. It has a lot of tabs, a lot of properties for different parts of smart management and gateway administration. We have something for net, for authentication. The most interesting for us right now is stateful inspection, where we have all the timers for each state of a TCP, UDP, and ICMP sessions. Later on, we will check what's happening with the netting. So you see that we have a translate destination on client side here and translate destination on client side here, which should be always checked. Basically, that's a lot of stuff in general properties. On the right, we have all our objects. We can navigate through all the predefined objects or manually created objects through this navigation. We also can search object. For example, we can find our admin laptop here. We have predefined services. We have predefined applications. Everything can be easily found in this search. Everything about objects. Here is our admin laptop. For each object, we can configure different settings. We can have network management. We can configure automatic net, some advanced settings, a server, and so on. Let's go back to gateways and servers. First thing, we can view and edit our gateways, and we can view and edit Smart Management Server. If we view our gateway, then we have a lot of properties here as well. One of the most important things is what security blades we have here. By default, we have firewall, IPsec, cluster Excel. That's what's necessary for this gateway to operate. Additionally, we can enable monitoring. We can enable mobile access, application control, everything, because everything is accessible on our trial license. Trial license for checkpoint firewalls is 2 weeks, 14 days, and during this period we can do whatever we want. We can enable any blade. After the trial period, any blade should be purchased with additional support contract, and there should be a license for each security blade. Then we have cluster members. We have cluster Excel and VRP. Here we can change the settings, what type of cluster we want. If it is world sharing, what type of the world sharing it is, and so on. For network management, we have our topology. That's also very important thing to understand is that checkpoint firewall makes a lot of decisions how it inspects and processes traffic based on the topology information. Right now, all the interfaces are marked as this network, but we can change it, and instead of this network, we can specify that this is external interface or this is a DMZ and so on. For example, here we have this network, means internal, but we can override it and make this network, for example, external. And all the networks which are reachable through this interface will become part of the internet object. We have netting, hide internal networks behind the gateway's external IP. If we check this checkbox, then automatically all the traffic marked as internal on the topology. When it's going through the gateway to some external network, it will be automatically netted. We have HTTP inspections, we have IPsec VPN configurations, and so on. Right now, we don't have any VPN communities, but we will create some communities in future. Let's go security policies. Right now, we have only one security policy, but if we want, we can always manage policies and create another security policy with this button to create a new policy. We can name it if we want, and we can configure it as we want. Right now, we will not do that. Also, we have different layers. We have access control layer, threat prevention, and HTTPS inspection layer. In the logs and monitoring, we can filter our traffic. We can add a filter for source, destination, wait, action, whatever we want. For example, if we have any specific action we want everything which is dropped. So, and then we click renew, and it will show only drop traffic. If we want some other action, for example, we have everything which is accepted, and then we click renew, it will show only the traffic which is accepted. And right now we have none. We can clear the filter, and it will then show all the traffic. And we already reviewed the management settings. So that's it for now for SmartConsole. Let's try to do some commands in CLI. When you have some problem with traffic, or you would like to find out what's going on with the gateway, there may be a lot of possible problems. So some basic commands which may help you in day-to-day life as a security administrator would be routing checks. And in Checkpoint, you can check routes by three different ways. First way is netstat -rn. Will just show you all the routes you have on the firewall. The other command is IP route get, and then you should specify some IP address. For example, if we will search for this IP address, so network is unreachable because we don't have a route. If we search 192.168.43.10, then it will show us this address will be reachable through either 0. The third way is through Clish. We can do show route, and then, for example, we want static routes. We don't have static. Instead, we have connected. Only connected routes. We can check it with route all, and we see that it is C for connected routes. We don't have any other type of routes. In case if you want to see some route for a specific destination, it will be show route destination, and then we should specify the IP address. Let's say 192.168.43.5, and here it will show that which one of the routes will be used, and we see that this will be this route because it is directly connected. Another one of the most useful commands to know is the top command. Top command will show you how your CPU is used. You will see the top process here, which is consuming the most CPU and memory, and also you will have summary of all your CPUs and how it is utilized. That's US means user space, all the system processes running in the kernel. SY means system space, that's all system related processes, mostly related to hardware. NI is low priority processes. Idle is for CPU doing nothing basically. This is wait time right into disk, hardware interrupts, and software interrupts. That's very useful command. If some of your process is taking too much CPU, you can always stop this command by Ctrl C, then see the process ID, and this way you will have the reference for the process which is consuming the most CPU and memory. If you want to have general overview of your performance for the firewall, you can use fwctl pstat command, which will show you a lot of useful information. For example, it will show you how many connections you have, how many concurrent connections, it's just 6 concurrent, how many total connections you had, and what was the peak of your connections at the same time. You will see a number of fragments going through your firewall, how much NAT is used, and also you can have a reference for use of your sync interface and for memory. Another very important thing to note here is aggressive aging, and now it is not active. Not active means that we do not extensively aging out any connections. In case if aggressive aging is enabled, then all the connections will be deleted from connection table much faster than usual. How we can check it? We can go to security policy, we can check some service, for example HTTPS, go to advanced, and here we have an aggressive edging. We see that it is enabled, and there is default timeout for aggressive edging to expire this connection, and that may be specific. The default timeout, TCP session timeout, is 1 hour, and it is just 10 minutes in case if aggressive edging is enabled. Aggressive edging by far is one of the most common causes for connections to expire when we have too much load on the firewall. And in this case, if traffic is going through this connection and suddenly this connection is expired before standard TCP timeout, this traffic will be dropped because gateway will not expect any packet but only SYN for this connection, and this connection will send some other packet, so the connection will be dropped. That's basically the basic troubleshooting commands for performance and routing. Also, we may want to check if our interfaces are healthy. For this, we can use netstat -ni. This command provides some very useful counters. It provides overview of the interfaces, MTU, how many packets was received, and how many packets were sent by this interface. Also, it has counters for RX errors, RX drops, and RX overrun. These counters should be 0. It's better to be 0, but in real life, most of the time, we have at least some errors for some of the interfaces in our firewall. To know more about interface statistics, we can use ethtool with a flag -S and then interface name. This command will show some extensive details about what's going on with the interface, and what's more important, it will show you more information about the errors which can happen on this firewall interface. There may be RX, TX errors, errors related to length of the packet, CRC errors, frame errors. RX missed errors means that the CPU was not able to process the packet in time. We have TX and RX FIFO when first in first out packet buffer was full and packet was dropped because of this. So basically this command provides a very good background to determine what exactly is the reason for the firewall to drop the packets, because packets can be dropped not by only firewall rules, packets can be dropped by different reasons, by overwhelmed buffers, and by some interface errors. That's one of the first things to check if you drop in some traffic unexpectedly, is to see if this drop happens not on your interface. This concludes our fourth video, and during the next video we will try a cluster Excel failover we will initiate failover manually, and we will see how TCP sessions follows our failover.